Well, my mic keeps dropping big time on here.
All right. Looks like we are live. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We are live with another Friday today. Really excited to get into the markets. We have pretty much a full crew today here. We have Kelvin, Bits of Wealth, William, Natnet. Natnet is having some issues with her microphone today, so please bear with us. Nat, can you want to test your mic?
Can you guys hear me better? Yeah, can you guys hear me better now?
It seems a little bit better, Bits, doesn't it? Like it's still muffled, but yeah, I think it should be okay.
Yeah, let's just see.
Can
Let's
you?
just see if it clears up over the stream here.
Yeah, yeah. So, super excited to dive into the markets today. Just a quick disclaimer for everybody who's tuning in. Anything that we do discuss here today is not financial advice. We are just talking about the charts and it's purely for educational purposes. So, thank you so much for tuning in. We can go ahead and get started here. Bates, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Look, just coming off of spaces in the morning as we usually do. But yeah, just watching this meltdown, having a little bit of a melt this morning on these crypto charts. But otherwise, doing all right.
Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Elwin, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I've been sick this entire week, so I have been out. But I drank about half a gallon of water, so hopefully my voice will hold up throughout this stream.
Yeah, no, glad to have you. And I see that you have your charts up, so we can go ahead and actually get started with you. And I'm going to go around and share the link in the groups and communities that I'm in and get as many people up here as we can. So go ahead, Kelvin. We'll go ahead and add you to the stage.
Okay. Well, I kind of wanted to zoom out just because that's where I always like to start. This is the monthly chart. This is essentially the history of Bitcoin since the beginning. During bear markets, we'll see several months of red in a row. Our first one had 5 months in a row. Next one had 4 with a break and then 2 more. The next one, it was choppy at the beginning, and then there was six red months in a row that kind of led us to the bottom. And this one was, interrupted. So there's only 3 months in a row, but it was just, interspersed with some green. Right now, if we close this month, which we're going to be doing before our next FOMO Friday, that's 4 days and 7 hours from now. If we close below 70 or 67,000, we'll have six red months in a row, which we've only done this other time here. Not to say that means that this is the bottom or that this is a bottom candle of any kind, because the bear markets take a year. It just because there's some green and some red doesn't mean that you're not trending down. But it is pretty interesting to see that we have 6 in a row. So that kind of caught my eye, which, that will only be true if we close below 67,000. And then zooming a little bit further in, we're on the weekly chart here. This is the chart that I was watching ever since our initial drop. And I kind of had an expectation that we probably would not revisit this low for a while. I think I said 3 to 6 months. But I also said that we'd probably play in this range and we'd be below this descending trend line. This descending trend line it's not to be, a real strongly actionable trend that we should be making decisions off of. But what it does measure is it's measuring the velocity of our move to the downside. On Wolf Spaces a few months ago or weeks ago, I said that if we don't reach about 80,000, then what that means is that we're accelerating to the downside. And so where we have these tops here and we line these up, we would have a consistent, measured, controlled move to the downside as long as we touch this as long as we tap this line every now and again as we are dropping. The interesting thing is that our most recent high of almost 76,000 was nowhere near the 79 or something that we needed at that point to kind of show that we are kind of moving in a controlled way. So if this move is all we get for a bounce and we start heading down again and we sweep the 60,000 lows here, what that tells me from kind of just looking at the chart is that our acceleration, we're accelerating into a selling climax, and it's getting worse, not better. So these supports here are going to be pretty violently broken if we go to sweep them, in my opinion. So that's kind of what this chart is telling me. So oftentimes, and this is the other thing I was looking at, is that this low right here of 80,600, usually there's this clean handoff. Well, so in a controlled market, right, that's not like super heated one way or another, you'll get kind of a handoff from some support and resistance. This 76,000 is a miss of about $4,000 from there as well. So there was multiple reasons why a normal functioning market would want to touch this. Now that doesn't mean it always has to happen. So for example, back here, when our market was early, when we were rising from 31,000, we had these strong moves up, and our pullback was only 38,000. But you could, and this gap here is perfectly fine. It just shows you that the market is extremely hot, and so we continued on pretty strongly. We had a little bit of a top here, and then we touched it here. There was a much cleaner handoff here, and then this got messy, so that can kind of show you that our momentum was running out. But now, if we're accelerating to the downside, we could see a gap like this happening in the past. We already had one because our most recent swing low was 107,000. And we only made it up to 97. So there was a gap of about $9,000 between this bottom and this top here. So this was an acceleration, which is expected at the start of a move. On the second leg, you would kind of expect things to chill out a little bit. But what that means is that we're in for a pretty ugly bear market, in my opinion. So we're starting to show signs of acceleration to the downside. And these things can happen pretty quickly, especially if things are starting to heat up. So that's kind of the market that I'm looking at. In the past, even though the bear markets last for a very, very long time, it's usually the big violent flush out that happens that really gets things going. If we sweep these lows and do it violently, we may put a line in the sand of where our bottom could be for this upcoming move. So anyway, we'll at least be in the neighborhood if that happens. So that's kind of the way I'm reading the Bitcoin charts at this point.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Love that take there, Kelvin. So yeah, I think we are aligning on that one. And this is what, like the EMA that you have, that blue and green EMA, I think you remember probably a few weeks ago we were discussing that, because I was thinking the price could actually go and retest those or even crash below that.
Yeah. So here we've got this is our 200 week, and this is our 50 month. So these are both a big line. So if we sweep the 60, that means we're going to be testing both the 200 week and the 50 month. If I go back to the monthly chart, historically, this last time around, you can kind of see how we early on, we respected the 50 month pretty well. The COVID crash made it through, but we still recovered from it. Last bear market, we stayed several months below the 50, and I'm expecting that trend to continue. I really think that we'll probably tap the 100 month for the first time throughout this bear market.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see what what happens. Interesting weekend as well, and how the weekly is looking to me right now. It's really on point, where we are still around that 200 EMA, actually closing below that. It would be a disaster. So interesting. Bits, how are you, and what are you looking at in the markets?
Hey,
You want to
come
bring up your
back to
chart?
me. No. Go, skip me real quick. Go to William or Nat, and then come back to me real quick.
Okay, I see, William, you
Thanks.
have your, yeah, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
William, yes, you have your chart up, so I'm going to bring it up for you. Here you go.
Perfect.
How are
Yeah, I
you?
mean, I'm good. I'm good. Honestly, these markets have been very interesting. I was kind of expecting to trend up in the cloud here a bit more on Bitcoin and maybe rally to that. I think we talked about that like 80,000 level last time.
Mhm.
But that was not the case. We got swiftly smacked down here, very similar to Calvin's analysis. I think we're trending lower here. Ichimoku on the daily is telling me we're going lower. We see, as you can see, if I zoom in here, maybe get my little drawing out. We're breaking out of the cloud right here. We have the conversion line that just crossed the baseline there, and we have the lagging span back here entering price action again. Which, if this breaks below price action and breaks below those candles, that's a very, very, very bearish sign. Combined with all these other bearish indicators happening. As you can see on the forward-looking indicator, the bullish momentum was very short-lived, and it looks like it's going to flip bearish again, similar to what happened back here. Yeah, all in all, daily looks awful. The daily just looks awful. It's flashing red signals at me saying, "Hey, you should short this thing again with haste." So that's what I'm looking at on Bitcoin. I don't know if I'm going to enter short just yet. But maybe, I mean, like you said, Nat, I mean, if you look at the weekly, this is the weekly chart on Ichimoku. We have so much of this gap on the Ichimoku here, right here. There's just this amazing, just like gap to kind of fill in order to get past the this Ichimoku cloud. In order to flip bullish again, we have this gap here as well between the conversion line and the baseline, which tells me they need to meet again at some point. I'm not sure when that will be. If we're going to get some amazing recovery here, maybe they'll meet that way. Maybe we sink lower and the conversion line dips lower to the the baseline. The red line dips closer to the conversion line there. But a key thing to look at is this 200 week EMA, like you just talked about. If we close below this, which I mean, hell, we have what 2 days on the weekly chart here,
Mhm.
almost basically 2.5. If we close below this, that's a terrible sign for Bitcoin here. I mean, just like you mentioned, Calvin, like back here is the last time it closed below. It was back here, and we stayed below there for several more than several months there. So I think that same price action would be likely to continue based on a lot of other indicators as well with Ichimoku there. But yeah, I don't know how people can be bullish here. I don't know if they suspect a bounce is going to happen. Maybe they're right. Maybe we're wrong. Who knows?
Mhm.
But my indicators all flag at me saying, "Hey, listen, do not even consider longing this thing." Something that I was looking at though. So there's my Bitcoin analysis. But something I was trading or I was thinking about trading was Tau. So Tau's had some really good bullish momentum here. Granted,
Mhm.
if I was to trade this just strictly on the daily chart, obviously back here would have been the prime time to do it. We had this clean break of the cloud, clean break with the conversion, the baseline there, clean break right here above the 200 week EMA. All in all, just fantastic breaks there that would have flagged me to go bullish. I wish I had noticed this earlier, but I'm waiting for a pullback here. I want to see a pullback. I want to see maybe some test of this support here. This where's my horizontal line? This kind of level right where was that, yeah, right here. I want to see some retest of that and maybe a bounce, maybe some consolidation. But all in all, Tau looks very interesting. There's a lot of subnets on Tau too, which I'm not sure if everyone here is familiar with Tau, but there's a lot of subnets on Tau that look very interesting as well. They're being utilized for a variety of reasons. One of them is Vanta. The other one's Templar. Shoots is being utilized by DeepSeek, which is the Chinese LLM that's got really popular a couple years ago. All in all, a lot of attention being paid to Tau right now on the timeline too. So I'm looking at Tau, maybe opening along there if we get some retest. Also, depending on what Bitcoin does, because as we all know, crypto does move a little bit in tandem with Bitcoin. But those are the two main things I've been kind of eyeing. I haven't really been looking at anything else besides my spot bags, my deep pin bags, of course, which I'm still holding. I'm still holding EAT. I'm still holding Alki. Not really much to show there, so I won't bore you guys with that analysis there. But those are the two things I'm looking at. I'll go through a deep in analysis towards the end of the show. I want to be able to. I want to make sure everyone gives gets their kind of time in the sun here to show their charts off and give their analysis. So I'll end it there. But that's what I'm looking at.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate that take there, William. Bits, are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm good now.
All right. We'll bring up your charts.
Perfect. Yeah, look, I'll start off with Tau because I covered this last night when I was streaming. But Tau was actually one of the setups that last month going into this month I was watching, and I had shared had a bullish monthly setup, right? And this is on that whole like concept of the turtle soup 3-month type of reversal. It's not a perfect setup. It would have been a little better if it had swept this low here, but this was printing this little kind of reversal here on a monthly chart. And it's interesting. I walked people through this in replay mode last night, and I think I can quickly get through that really quickly here, just to illustrate what I want to talk about, which is these altcoin charts on a quarterly basis, because we're coming up to a quarterly close. So look, here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to put it in replay mode, and we're going to go back. We're going to basically come back to looking at the February close, right? So here's what's interesting is like anytime you're watching these high time frame charts, I'm always watching, and you can do it on the daily and the weekly, but you're kind of looking for acceptance back into the previous day's range, or acceptance back into the previous week's range, or previous month's range, right? So on a monthly setup here, you can see like this month did not close within that month. This month so far had not closed within this month, right? So you were still downtrending. There really wasn't anything that had changed there. And this is going towards the end of January, right? So as you were here, like in January, you're kind of watching the December low, and you're asking yourself, can this thing close inside of the previous month? Even though January was not one that I would have been watching closely because of the wick to the upside already. Like ideally you want to leave room for a move up. So this was not like the cleanest example of that, but you can find some examples here where it's like similar idea, right? But anyways, I'm going to quickly just put it in replay mode. We'll go to like 3x mode, and we'll let that new candle print. All right. So here at this point, you closed January's candle and you opened up a new monthly candle. You're now in Feb. So now this low you were looking at from December is no longer important. Now what you're looking at is you're looking at the low from January here, right? So if you were to mark that out, you mark your January low, and this can chop around. It can do a bunch of stuff, but ultimately, again, you're looking at, is this going to open within this range? And if it does, do you get a move partially back into the previous month's range? Sometimes it'll go to the top of the range, but at least it'll go like kind of in the 50%, you get a 50% pullback to the previous month's range. So you're watching this play out, and you're kind of just watching this here. You're sweeping the previous month range here, right? So you're sweeping the lows. You're now getting into, let's go look at the date here. So now you're, first week of Feb, you're still February 6th here. You just took out previous month's low, and you're letting this thing just play out, and you're keeping an eye. The month is going. You're going to kind of play around this level here, but the month of Feb's going to progress. And the only thing you're really watching is you're watching January's close. You're watching the low of January here, right? So Jan low, because if Feb can close with above the low of January, then there's a chance, right? Going back to the monthly chart, if Feb can close within January's candle, there's a chance it can go back up, possibly to the top of January, but at least, let me grab a full range. I'd say at least to the 50% of January, which 50% of January, I'm just going to put a little box on it, is about there. Okay. So it's kind of what you're looking for, but you need, the prerequisite is that you want this current month to close within the prior month, right? And you can do this again. You can do this on weekly, monthly, quarterly. It doesn't matter. 6 month, 12 month, you can do this. So we're looking at this, go back to daily, and you're just letting the month play out. You're letting the month play out. You have your line in the sand where you say, okay, if it's above this at the close of the month, then I'm looking for potentially a trade up to that 50% level. Maybe if I'm lucky, it goes up 100%. It retraces the entire January candle, maybe, right? So you're watching this thing, you're letting it play out. You're heading towards the close of the month. right here is a couple more days. Boom. Okay. We are now March 1st. We should now have a new monthly candle. We do. This is a new monthly candle. Did February close within the range of January? Yes, it did, right? February closed within January's range. Okay. It's met our initial criteria. There's a chance that even if this new March candle cleans up a little bit to the downside, even if it goes down, pretty good chance it goes back to the top of February's range, which is really close to that 50% level of January here, and maybe even at the top, right? But a lot of times you'll at least go back to here, and then you continue to move down if it's going to go down. Okay. But check this out. And this is what I was observing this. I've observed a couple other ones that have done it. And this is the whole basis that I'm building this quarterly idea on. But here's the daily chart. So even here, even now, we have confirmation. And even if you can get a better trade, let's say March is going to sweep these lows from the end of Feb and you can get a better entry. Cool. If not, let's assume you just got in here based with a simple invalidation that if this is going to go higher, we should not be breaching these lows. Like simple invalidation. If this is going to go up here somewhere, you should not be breaching these lows. It should chop around somewhere in here and then go higher. And if it goes below this, then something's broken and you're going significantly lower. And this idea is not a trade that we're interested in taking, right? Mm-hmm. But even if you just entered blindly here and this is just that trade, let's see what would have happened. So you hit play. What did it just do? It just went straight to the target. Isn't that crazy? It went straight to the target and then went above it based on this 3 candle idea of what ICT tried to rebrand as like their own thing, but it's been known as turtle soup. It's been known as AMD method, accumulation, manipulation, distribution. But it's this 3 candle fractal that when a key time frame closes within the previous range, a lot of times you go back to the top of that previous range, right? I'll show you an example here on BTC of why Lady Trader is so bearish, right? This is inverted BTC. What did this 12-month candle just do relative to the previous 12-month candle? It just closed inside of it, right? Wouldn't it make sense that there's a potential that BTC is going to go back to the other side of this one here if it's doing that exact same thing that Tau did? What level is this? This is 38K. 38K if this were to play out, right? Crazy stuff.
But bitch, you're not factoring in the fact that we're going to go to the moon, bro. We're going to the moon.
I'm not factoring in the fact that we're going to go to the moon. But anyways, so based on this 3 candle thing, what I started to do is I started to look at, because we're coming up to a quarterly close, right? So I'm like, okay, there's got to be some interesting quarterly closes that are potentially lining up. So I started looking at a bunch of charts for bullish monthly setups, and I started to see it. A lot of these that have pumped had this exact setup where the last month closed within the one prior, and then it ran up basically to the top of the current month, almost the top of that one, right? You see it there. But then I said, okay, is it going to do these on the 3-month, on quarterly basis? Well, I don't know. But if this strategy, if this technique is going to play out, a chart like this bar, I have no idea what this is, but we're 4 days and 7 hours away from getting a quarterly close inside of the prior quarter, right? So I've marked out previous quarter low, previous quarter high. What if we're about to get a move somewhere into the 50% mark, at least to the high of this quarter, potentially up here? I don't know what would need to happen to turn this ship around, if you will, but this right here is at least printing the potential for there to be something bullish. And you start going through a lot of these charts, and a lot of them are doing Jito. Here's another one that's doing it, right? This quarter is closing within the range of the previous quarter, right? Near needs to pump a little bit, but if Near can do it, it can do it as well. There's a bunch of these. And I've started to mark them out. Some of them have swept key levels, so they have a little bit more confluence to it because they've taken out a key long-term level over to the left. And I'm basically just highlighting all the charts that are below the previous quarter low, but have the potential to pump up and close within them, right? And then I'm, some are closer than others. Some are probably not going to meet the criteria. But like this, I have no idea what that is. That's right around previous quarter low currently. Yeah, there's a bunch of these. Zill, right? We all remember Zilliqa. Doge is kind of closing within previous quarter low. This one's not far from it. So I don't know. I'm like, this is what I've been spending my time doing the last probably 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, is just really paying attention to these quarterly charts, looking at upcoming quarterly closes for charts that are potentially closing within previous quarter, because then it's simple. Then you say, okay, where's the low of the previous quarter? There's the low of the previous quarter. Where's the high of the current quarter? There's the high of the current quarter. Where's the high of the previous quarter? There's a high of that previous quarter. These are all interesting levels that if you were to get a pump on this coin, and let's say this one, for example, I think there's a pretty low chance that in the next 4 days, 7 hours, you're going to sweep this quarterly low. So I'm going to make an assumption that in the next 4 days, 7 hours, it's probably going to close within this previous quarter's, which was last year's Q4, within that range. So if there was a trade here, and you can probably get a better entry if you waited, but if you put a stop below the low of this quarter, let's say you were entering right now as is, and I'm not giving advice for anyone to take these trades. I'm just making an observational statement based on a potential strategy that I'm studying right now. But if this were to pump even just to the current quarter's high, that's about a 2R trade and this is on a 3-month chart without really even trying to snipe an entry. It's about a 2R trade that if something like this happened, even if the next quarter opens down and then you pump up there and then ultimately you still get down, there's a 2R trade where you're risking 23% to make 44% potentially on this. And if it were to go to the top, even if it did that and it still rolled over after doing that, didn't set a new high or anything, there's potentially a 5-6R trade where it goes up 131% potentially for that same risk. So could you get a better entry? Yeah, I if it closes within this previous quarter, I'm paying attention, and then I'm zooming in. Then I'm zooming in and I'm saying, okay, I'm going to my weekly. Is there a weekly level that's interesting? Then I'm going to the daily. Okay, where's my daily structure? Here's my daily structure. Are we getting a new high? Yes, we're trying to put in a new daily high as well as a new daily close. Could I maybe then be eyeing a trade where if I wait for a pullback, maybe it comes down in like this fair value gap here, somewhere in there, and I'm able to position, and maybe I put my risk below here. Is there potentially a trade that I could take to either of those, right? So, but it's all based on this quarterly close. Like this is what I'm waiting on. A lot of these can invalidate. 4 days, 7 hours. This thing could just shoot all the way down, invalidate, and I'm no longer interested, right? But I'm watching a lot of these. Cardano's another one. That same thing. It's not it's right there. It's not currently perfectly inside of it. But if it does, can it at least come up to this current quarter's high, maybe 50%? There's a lot of these here. And
Yeah, a lot
and look,
of these
it's
do look good.
it's just a basic strategy that's just looking for a very particular setup and not really trying to build a narrative around it. It's just saying, I have a setup that I've gone and back tested on a monthly, on a daily, on a weekly, and it doesn't have a perfect hit rate. It doesn't. I can show you examples that had monthly setups that did absolutely nothing with it, but there are some that are running, and there's more that are playing out than there are that are not. Steam is another one. No idea what Steam is. There's previous quarter low, previous quarter high, current quarter high, and then if I start zooming in and I start cleaning up my chart, right? I start cleaning up my chart, and I'm just looking quickly, thinking, okay, can this get a pullback? As long as and this is my criteria. It needs to close the next 4 days, 7 hours above this. If it closes below that, I'm not interested. Boom, I take it off the list, pass, go to the next one. But if in the next 4 days, 7 hours, this is closing above this yellow line, previous quarter low, then I'm asking myself, okay, is there a way I can enter this? Even if it comes down at the beginning of the next month, beginning of the new quarter, even if it comes down, is there a way that I can play it to this current quarter's high and leave a runner on to Q4 of last year's high up here in case it decides to go? So I don't know. Some of these setups, if it came down, swept the lows, even if you took it here, depending on where you would put your risk, they're not bad looking. They're 4-hour trades, 20-something% risk. I would love to be able to get a better entry on the new quarter if it closes above and then it dips down, maybe sweeps lows down here, gives me a more generous entry. Even going to this initial TP, it's a 3R. It's a nice little trade. So this is what I'm watching. And look, I've spent some time on it. These setups, if they were tops, you'd be saying that thing looks topped and it's going down, right? But because right now the market is melting, because we're in a bear market, because they're altcoins and all they've done is bleed, we're instead choosing to not look at the setup for what it is, which is it's a technical setup. If it looked like this, if this was pumping and it looked like that, we'd be saying we're looking for shorts because this thing is going that way. But because it's an alt, because it's been bleeding to BTC, because we're in a bear market, because the world's on fire, we're ignoring that there might be these potential setups coming up here. So I'm choosing to ignore all the noise. I'm choosing to just look at these for what they are. I'm probably going to take a lot of these plays if they meet the criteria. Not all of them are meeting it yet, but I've got a watch list, and I'm just watching a lot of these that are pretty close. A lot of these. AVAX is one of them. I'm just watching a lot of these, and I'm just saying, okay, if it meets my criteria, look at this, Sahara. No idea what this is. No idea what this is. Previous quarter low. Previous quarter high, right? Current quarter high. Start zooming in. I'm just asking myself, what would it take? How would it need to set up for me to play this? Right? How far down does it need to come for me to play this? If it can close the quarter above here in 4 days and 7 hours. Is there money on the table? So I don't know. That's where I'm at. You guys already know I'm a purely technical guy, and I'm okay with taking the contrarian side where everyone is saying, no, everything is going so much lower. I agree. It probably is. There's nothing here that, like on a lot of these, there's nothing here that's saying that these things can't get a nice pump, 50%, 100% pump, and then just roll over and put in new lows. None of these going up to any of their previous quarter highs or anywhere near all-time highs or nowhere near putting in bullish market structure. It would just be a bear market rally. Be purely a bear market rally that would send them a little bit higher. Look at this one, UTK. I have no idea what that is. Is that the Unite the Kingdom one, Lady Trader, or what is this UTK?
No, I don't think that's the one. I mean, that one pretty much rugged.
Okay. Well, who knows what this UTK is, but same thing. Look, current quarter within previous quarter, there's that quarter low, quarter high. Like I'm just going through these just like a robot, not putting a lot of emotional or any kind of noise to these, trying to figure out why they would or why they wouldn't. I'm just looking at them and I'm just saying, okay, if this thing pulls back, and this one's actually interesting here because this is doing that little 3 candle setup here on the inverse, right? You can see it right here. So where is it logical for this next week to pump up to, or even this current week? It's logical for it to pump up here to that line, which is the previous quarter low. So could this be getting ready to do this over the coming days and then hopefully still close above previous quarter high? So let's say it manages to stay above here. And then on the new quarter open, it dips down. It should not take out that low, ideally, right? Like if you take out that low, you're invalidating the setup. But maybe it dips down slightly below that. And then you're setting up for that move right there. The trade could potentially look something like this. Invalidation is below current quarter low because if you go below that, it's not the setup. This is something else. And, like, could you maybe get an entry there? And could you take it there? That's a 6-hour trade. 94% for a 15% risk. Leave a runner on to see if you get the full target. 237% to the upside. Same 15% risk. Doesn't change any kind of structure on this thing. This thing could still go to 0 after that. Nothing changes. It's just purely another one of these bear market rallies, and it just continues to mount. So I don't know. Crazy times. Some of these charts are looking appealing to me in that if they get a good quarterly close and Bitcoin for some reason finds a temporary bottom or a new range, or it goes sideways, or it manages to reclaim back up into here and chops around for a little bit more, I think some of these are going to pump. I don't think it's going to be like a broad alt season, but I think some of the ones that have good quarterly setups could pump.
Yep, no, makes sense. Bits of I have a question. I know when you're talking
Mm.
about these three candle fractals, I'm not always looking at the three candle fractals, but I'm looking at like the overall pattern, right? Because of
Mm.
course, if you have a hammer, usually that's determining a reversal, at least for
Sure.
the short term. Do you, in your studies and your research so far, have you found it to create like a long-term reversal pattern? So I'm just thinking from Bitcoin's perspective, because you and I, we've kind of
Yeah.
gone back and forth on whether we can get that extended bear market this time because of the yearly close. So like, what are you finding out? Is it like the three candles and then it goes back up if it's like a reversal, like if it's a
No, it can
bearish
mark.
pattern?
Yeah, it can mark a larger reversal for sure. Sometimes those three candles end up being just like the peak bottom or peak top of the pattern, you know. But like an example would even be here on whatever this is, right? Back here, look, you had that same three pattern. You had a big move up, had the reversal, and it came down below that. You know, it came down significantly below for quite a bit longer and longer than just those three candles. So I think it's like anything. Like if it happens on a larger time frame, so BTC, for example, with it happening on a 12-month, it could be signaling much longer, much worse. It doesn't mean it's just coming here. It could mean that it's reversing something huge, something big. So, and again, it doesn't hit 100% of the time either. Like sometimes there was, I think Cardano was one that had it had the setup on a monthly, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go check. No, it wasn't Cardano, because Cardano. Oh no, it was. Yeah. See, so Cardano was one of them where it technically had it here, but a lot of it also depends on the prior candle. Like, was the prior candle a trending candle? Like usually, you'll find that it works really well if candle one looks something like this one, where it's a nice big body directional, versus like this. This was like really wicky. So there is some extra things, like you have to use some judgment there. But I'm willing to pay attention to them, right? And I'm willing to try and see if it sets up something on those charts.
Well, that makes sense. Thank you for explaining that. I was definitely curious. But yeah, Ned, you have your chart up, so we'll bring you up next. Bits, unless you have anything else that you want to add.
No, that was it. No, that was it. I went a little longer than I was trying to rush through it, but I wanted to make sure that just the strategy or the lens that I'm looking at these through is clear, and why. I mean, essentially, all it is it's just understanding ranges and liquidity, right? If price goes below a range, just dipping into a discount, but then it reclaims back into the range, it's the market telling you that it's willing to trade at that range's or that range's value, right? Which means if it's back at range low, it could go back to range high, or at least the middle of the range. So, but yeah, it's just kind of a liquidity lens to see it through, and it's not perfect. Doesn't mean it's going to play out. Some of these could set up and then they could all invalidate together if Bitcoin nukes. This is the problem with alts, is you really need to, even if you have the most bullish of setups, you really need Bitcoin to play along. If Bitcoin doesn't play along, then it's going to invalidate, you know?
Yeah, no, makes sense. Thank you so much for going over this. Ned, are you ready?
I am. Can you guys hear me all right?
Hey, that's
Yeah, I
better.
think we could. Yeah, much better.
All right, sounds good. Yeah,
US. Oh.
yes, crude. All right, so this is one thing that I wanted to bring up in the previous space that we were in, but I figured we'll touch on this on this one. So this is, bear with me here, right? Okay. So before we come to the chart, yesterday a very interesting note came across my desk, right? And it was to the tune of the Japanese government is actually considering shorting oil futures in order to help the yen, right? Because the yen right now, USDJPY is something that we have touched on many times in the wolf spaces, right? And it's always a telltale sign as to what's going on in the broader scheme of things, right? So right now the USDJPY is at 160. Usually when it gets that high, we see intervention. And this what they're doing this time is the Japanese government, as I mentioned, right, they're in talks of shorting crude oil futures in order to weaken the dollar, which would help strengthen the yen. So the first thing that came to my mind when this came across my desk, like, okay, hold on, they're looking to short oil futures, so they see some kind of a pullback, because I don't think that any government in their right mind would put themselves in a position like that if oil is going to skyrocket without any kind of pullback, right? Which brings
Mm-hmm.
me to this chart that we're seeing, right? And this is the same similar setup that we're seeing across the board when it comes to oil. I did Brent, WTI, all of them. This looks very interesting here. It has tried to move up multiple times and it has failed, along with the slight bearish diversion that we're seeing on the weekly, right? So it seems like Japan is anticipating a nice big pullback in oil, or they're in talks about it, right? And it would play out. We would probably see it on the weekly here, which is why, when we were on the space, I kind of asked you that question, like, hey, do you see a big move to the upside or to the downside, right? I've been I've been long in oil since late December, early January, right? But this setup right here, I've played it both sides. I've played it long and I've played it short above 110 when we got into the short, but and I got long again below 100. But this for Brent, but this setup right here is very interesting to me. This says that there is some kind of weakness within the oil sector as of right now, and it is getting ready for some kind of pullback, which would probably coincide with the deals that we've been hearing back and forth. Maybe, I don't know, could we see them come to some kind of agreement and we see oil pull back? This would be a big pullback if we pull back to this EMA around like 76, 77. So that's something I am paying close attention to, right? Because they would coincide with a lot of things. Like even when we look further back. So let's bring up, if I want to bring up the 3 months chart, right? I would maybe position myself long if we do get that kind of pullback that we're seeing across the board, right? And it's not just oil, it's also energy plays too, which is the other thing I wanted to touch on. So earlier this year, we positioned ourselves in oil, we positioned ourselves in Oxy, we positioned ourselves in XLE. So if I bring up Oxy, it is the same, Oxy Petroleum, it is the same thing on the weekly. See,
Mm-hmm.
they're all getting slightly overextended. If I bring up XLE, it is the same thing on the weekly, right? Can they continue to go up a little higher? Absolutely. But at some point, I would see them pulling back. So this, for me, begs a question. Okay, is something going to happen in terms of the deal, in terms of successful outcome, in terms of the sector rotating, or temporary rotation out of energy and out of oil, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
if we go back to WTI and we zoom out and we look at sorry, if we look at the quarterly, there is still room for it to go a lot higher, right?
Mm-hmm.
130 plus, right? So is are the markets anticipating some kind of a short-term relief? And I think Japan is also looking at this. That is why they're probably positioning themselves that way, in which
Mm-hmm.
we get a slight pullback and then the next leg up, which would also coincide with capital rotation, right? Being that capital rotation does last a little longer than markets are currently pricing in, which would mean the war would last a little longer than markets are currently pricing in. But as of right now, man, I could see maybe it's just me, right? But I could see a scenario in which we do get some kind of a pullback in oil and energy plays, which would at some point in what I was looking at as well would coincide if we do get some kind of a pullback in oil and energy plays. it'll line into some kind of, even if it's just a relief bounce on BTC, right? Because one thing I was looking at is on the hourly. See how we're like super overextended. The RSI is super overextended here. And every time we get to overextended, we tend to like
Mhm.
bounce, even if it's just a short term bounce, maybe to above 66.1, or even here 66.9, or if we were to just get this 67.2. This is one setup that I am currently looking at, right? And this beautiful, we were able to capture this move on BTC. It's one thing that I kind of mentioned on the Wolf Spaces yesterday, because the daily didn't look the best to me, and there was this big pocket of liquidity. It's still there. It's above. It's at 65,700, which we got some of it, but the majority is at 65.4. So do we go and get the liquidity at 65.4 and then we start to revisit these areas here? I wouldn't rule that out. Obviously, a rejection there just means we're going to continue down. This could just be seen as some kind of like a relief bounce or a relief rally, which would coincide with a pullback in oil, a pullback in energy plays, a nice bounce across the board. I wouldn't rule something like that happening, right? And I did want to share the liquidity, because liquidity is something that we've been looking at for a while, and we're seeing how price action it has been following the liquidity, right? Every time and time again. So let me just pull up. I'm gonna share my Kiyotaka screen just real quick,
Mhm.
and I know we're coming up at time. And you gotta still give your take, so I'll make it quick, Lady Trader.
Yeah, absolutely. No, take your time. Usually on FOMO Friday, we go a little bit over, so it's fine.
Okay. Here it is. We're making the move now. We're literally coming right up at this level. You guys see this? This is incredible how price action is just continues to follow this. And I sent a screenshot to the crew last night in the DMs. And this is one thing I was looking at. Look at that liquidity, right? Look at that. It's almost at 100 million, sitting at 65,400. And look at the price. Look how it's like slowly just gravitating
I don't
towards
see
it.
Yeah, I
any
was gonna
chart.
say I don't see your
Oh, there
screen
we go.
either. There we go.
Here we go.
You're like, look, this is so exciting.
I'm just like, what? What am I
Trying
looking at? What am I looking at?
Do you guys see it now?
Yeah, we can see it now.
Lady Trade, you brought it up. Okay, she brought it up. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you guys see this section right here where the arrow is at, there's big orders of like almost 100 million. This is one thing that I mentioned last night on the spaces that we were in, right? And look at how the price is just slowly gravitates to it. Look at where it's at now. We're kind of getting really close to this area. So this is one area that I was just looking at, and we were able to profit off the move. I mentioned yesterday that I got into a short, but the way I trade, I don't always try to catch the full bottom. So I take profit and leave runners just in case, right? Because I know, and I think we all know the same thing, right? The minute we start chasing max gains, like there's a problem there, right? And usually price doesn't work with us, or something tends to happen. So the way I trade, and I do this in equity side as well, even with options, at a certain point, I just take my profit and leave some runners. So that's what I did with BTC, and the runners were able to capture most of this move here. So that's what I'm looking at. But based on what I'm seeing in oil, what I'm seeing in the energy markets, I wouldn't rule out some kind of a relief bounce, right? The 1 hour is overextended, the 4 hour is slightly overextended. Can we go all the way down and catch this little buildup here, which is at 64K? Absolutely, right? There's even a slight little buildup here at 60K, which is a 30 million right at 60K, like right on the money. But at some point, I do think we'll get into some kind of a relief rally, and I think we're all kind of just looking at that. I think for me, it'll depend on if we kind of do break above 72K, if we even tap that, right? Because there is liquidity right here at 80K. It is still there. We haven't been able to touch it yet. and it's 34.23 million right at 80K, which is interesting. And in order for us to even get close to that, I mean, we've come so far down when it comes to BTC. So we're like below big levels. So in order for us to even try to get to it, we have to reclaim 70. Then once we reclaim 70, we have to reclaim 71.5 to 72, which is a big area for me. And even see, there's some liquidity here at 72.297. There's some here at 76.4. Sorry, 76.3. And then at 80K, as I mentioned. So I'm keeping an open mind when it comes to this, not saying that we're going to get any of this, right? The weakness continues across the board, but I would see a scenario in which we do get a slight bounce and kind of just even get some of this little build over here with 66.9, maybe 70,100, 67,000, sorry, 100. But BTC continues to be in an interesting spot, at least for me, right? I even made a post about this weeks ago that this was an area that I was looking at. Kind of want to see how BTC reacts once we get to the full liquidity. I wouldn't rule out us getting to the full 65,400. There's way too many orders there to be ignored. I could be wrong, right? But this is definitely one area I'm looking at. See what it does there in
What's
order
that
for me to
upper
position
level,
myself
Nat?
long. Right here,
No, all the way to the top.
80K.
You heard it here first, folks. 80K. Nat's calling it officially on
No,
FOMO
I am
Friday.
not. I am not. No te hagas. I am. I am not calling it at all. I mean, it could just continue to range or break below this, and then we're definitely going lower, right? We're gonna go grab this liquidity that's been building at right at 60K. But I'm sharing all of this just to say, you know what? There is liquidity building up at the top as well. Um, and there's some even closer, right? Even this area here, right at 70K. Do we get back to 70K and then continue to its move down? I wouldn't rule that out, right? Again, it would coincide with a pullback in oil, a pullback in energy, and a bounce across a relief bounce or a bear market rally again across the board.
I love that, Ned. Thank you for that. We are definitely, Bitcoin is looking interesting for sure here. I'm gonna actually start sharing something, and I'll start with oil as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. We'll start with something that I really want to bring everybody's attention to, because there's a lot of talk around the Strait of Hormuz. Give me 1 second here. So I'll share this one here real quick. This was just a screenshot that I grabbed earlier this morning for, let me see if I could bring it up. Here we go. All right. So remember, we are talking a lot about Strait of Hormuz. Of course, a lot of people prior to this war had no idea what this is, right? A lot of us are learning about the geopolitics. I knew generally where it was, and where all these, like, how all these countries are stuck together right now, right? What the map actually looks like. But a lot of people are still learning about it. So it's really important to understand that this is not the only choke point. There are definitely other areas that we need to be aware of, right? So when we are talking about oil, understanding geopolitics is very important, and also for other commodities and metals. Like, this is important thing to understand. And so this is, of course, one area that is under the control of Iran, and this is one of the reasons why we are seeing oil prices going up in value significantly. So you have Iran, you have, of course, all of these GCC countries here, right? And these countries are also supporting the US in their fight against Iran. And so there are a lot of these little tiny islands that are, where we are speculating there's going to be the, Karg Island, which is somewhere around here, and there's going to be more islands pretty much throughout, right? There are also islands around UAE. So there is a lot of discussion around what's going to happen, which island could potentially US can potentially attack. I was on a space earlier with Wolf Team, and we were actually talking a little bit about geopolitics. It was actually one of the best discussions that I've ever had on X around geopolitics, because a lot of spaces around what's happening in the world right now, they're not very respectful. So I don't even join as a speaker. I'm just sometimes listening in. This was actually a really awesome conversation this morning. And we were talking about the geopolitics. And it's one thing that I did bring up was that everybody's talking about Karg Island when it first came out, right? Like, okay, there's a possibility that we could potentially take over Karg Island. And I discussed it with my husband, who is big on history and geopolitics. And he basically mentioned, no, it's probably not going to be Karg Island. It's going to be other islands. That's a possibility. And so I started kind of looking more closely into what other islands are there. But it's important to understand this structure, right? What are some of the things that could happen over the next few weeks? We have Strait of Hormuz. If there is a ground invasion of any sort, like here, of course, Iran said that there's going to be retaliation. Yemen, which has not entered the fight yet, has already said that they're going to be entering the fight, supporting Iran if it was to happen. Then we are potentially looking at this one. This is basically, you have Strait of Hormuz here, but then you also have Bab el-Mandab Strait, which is around Red Sea and also this Gulf here. So these are important choke points, right? If this one closes down, then this is also going to impact oil export out of Saudi Arabia. This is going to be pretty awful situation there. And then, of course, you have the Suez Canal, which if Egyptians were to enter, then we could potentially see some problem here as well, right? So these are really important things to understand, because I know everybody's talking about a Strait of Hormuz. No one is really talking about Bab el-Mandab. We better be paying attention, because this could happen, and that's not going to be a good news for the oil bears, right? It's going to be great if you're bullish on oil, but it's going to, of course, we don't like oil prices to go up too much, because that also impacts everybody's day-to-day life. So important thing to keep an eye on here. And then, of course, you have Oman. So Yemen has already said they're going to be supporting Iran, or big part of Yemen has said they're going to be supporting Iran. Not official government, but everybody else is talking about it. And Houthis, which are out of Yemen, they are a militant group, so they are fully supporting Iran. Then you have Oman, which can potentially also support Iran. We don't know yet. So far, it seems like they're going to be supporting USA, but there's also a discussion that they may join forces with Iran. So this region is going to be the one to watch, not just this one, because this is what we are watching right now. So I wanted to put it out there. And then, of course, we're going to go look at the charts here real quick. But yeah, that was something that I wanted to bring up, since we are talking too much about certain things and not enough about other areas in Middle East that are going to impact oil prices, and not just oil, but other things as well. I'm going to go ahead and end it there. We'll go to our charts here in a second. I'm going to bring up, let's see, right here. Okay. So we'll start with this one. I think I did call it out during our last FOMO Friday, or one of the live streams, actually. I don't think if it was FOMO Friday. But this guy, Predictive History, really awesome X account to follow, and then also his YouTube channel. Really awesome. Like, some of the videos I do recommend, especially he's going over the game theory, and he really talks about how each of the players in Middle East right now are like, what's in it for them, right? Saudi Arabia right now joining alliances with the US. Is that how it's going to be for a long time, or are they only looking for their own benefits? Same with other countries, right? We are very strong allies with Israel right now, but is that going to be the same case in the future? Or is it not going to be the same case? Like, he's talking about all of that from history, from geopolitical perspective. Definitely recommend this guy. It's sometimes good to kind of look at like a third party who is not from either region, and he's kind of giving you a bigger picture, and extremely knowledgeable. Really, really awesome channel to follow. I'm definitely watching his videos and also following him on X with my notification on. I don't usually have my notifications on, so definitely worth looking into this guy. Now, coming back to oil, actually, I'm going to start with oil since we were talking about it, and then we'll go to BTC. So oil, we had something to remember previously whenever Trump was talking about, hey, we are coming to a conclusion where, we're going to be wrapping up here shortly. We have good negotiations going on with Iran, blah, blah, blah. Every time it was happening, every time he posted previously, there was a big correction in oil, but it's not a case anymore. It's not the case anymore at all. So markets are basically waiting for a much bigger event to happen for oil to actually have a correction there. So daily chart is starting to look very, very bullish to me. And this is like a very bullish pattern here. Of course, we could just go up here, to previous week's high somewhere, and then, or previous week's open and then have basically crash, right? So definitely worth watching, but it seems like markets need a lot more than we are going to be negotiating, or we're going to give you 10 days. That's no longer impacting the oil prices anymore. Oil is just continuing to move up. It's going to be interesting based on what NetNet was also saying with Bank of Japan potentially, and the government of Japan actually doing some sort of an intervention, which has been the case historically. Lisa was also here earlier today. She's also talking about the JPY over 160. There will be an intervention, and she's from Japan, so she's definitely watching what's happening in Japan. And so it's worth watching this chart. On the weekly, I am actually, what I was hoping for after this sort of a correction, and I think NetNet, you might actually see this as well. But what I was hoping is that we have a sharp correction, and there is a gap as well right here. This is the gap that I want filled, at least partially or fully. And then maybe we position, and we position here for longs. And for whatever reason, but it's also scary, right? Because this means there could be either a very like some sort of a negotiation, which is great, like that's the positive, but there could also be something really awful where ground invasion followed by maybe tactical nukes, something like that. Who knows? So anything could happen, right? The guy from predictive history, he doesn't think there's going to be nukes right away. Like it's usually like an escalation ladder, which is what we all need to understand. So definitely go and check out his YouTube channel. Search for escalation ladder, or there's a video there around it. You'll find it. He explains that. So it's basically step by step. It's not going to be just quick nukes. It's going to be other things before that. So it's worth watching that video. But this one here is a gap that if we could get the price to be to retest this area, I think it would be a beautiful entry. Again, no guarantee that it's going to fill the gap, right? Sometimes the gaps don't get filled for many, many years. That's the case as well. But if it does get filled, this is going to be a nice little entry, especially if it happens in the short term. What I'm looking at here, I mean, this pattern is still bearish to me on the weekly, right? Daily is looking a little bit bullish. Weekly is still bearish to me. And so I'm just basically watching to see, because if I could just close like this, or even if it's a little bit green here, it could just roll over. I mean, but we need a little bit of a correction. So I think it's in line with what you're saying, what everybody else is saying about it, Lisa and you, and I think I can see it as well. So let's see what happens here. But long term, of course, it's looking extremely bullish. So this is like a parabolic setup on the yearly chart. It's going to blow up 250, 260. And I know the worst case scenario that North Star was calling for was like 700. 250 is like the conservative. 256 was the conservative top. And then much, much higher if everything continues. Scary times, but really awesome for oil bulls if you are trading oil. So that's really what it is. Anything you want to add to that, Ned? I know we were going to discuss it a little bit. So.
Yeah, no, great take. I 100% agree. The short-term time frame on oil don't look too bad, but when we get the weekly, doesn't really look the best. But if we zoom out even more, it looks like it can go on a crazy, crazy run. I think I showed it on my chart too, like the quarterly, even the yearly too. There's a potential for a massive, massive upside. The weekly is the one that I'm looking at, same as you, that it can give us a pullback. But it is very, very interesting for sure. I would be in the camp of let's get this pullback so that way we can position ourselves, because if the quarterly and the yearly play out, it's going to run really hard.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it's going to be interesting. I see a lot of comments from you, Bryce. Thank you for tuning in. I see Kate here from Wolf Team. Good morning. Lisa is here. Rand is here. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for reposting and liking and leaving a comment. Appreciate all of that. So going back to Bitcoin, I mean, nothing has changed. Same range. The upper range here, the lower range here. This is the range that I drew first week of February. We are now end of March. So let's see how this one works out. I do feel that we're gonna not have a really solid close, like unless there's a miracle and we close green above this 200 EMA. I think this is toast pretty much, and so I think we are going to be looking at much lower prices. So we'll see how this one plays out. So far, lots of breakout setups. Like I missed a lot last week or this week actually because I was traveling. But look at it. I mean, all these breakouts. This one, beautiful setup here. Very quick for the take profit. That this one was a really good trade. This one was also a really awesome trade here as well. So lots of breakout setups that I'm seeing, and I missed quite a few of them last week. But we'll see how it works out. This one as well. We were watching. I think was it last week, I believe. Yeah, this one. So look at it. I mean, this was a breakout setup as well. Like quick TP, quick take profit on these. And so these are my favorite setups just because I could set it, forget it. Don't have to worry about it. It's basically just set it up and then have your take profit, have your stop loss, and move on. And then you just come back and you're like, oh yeah, that trade was triggered last night. It hit my take profit levels. I'm good to go. Maybe leave a moon bag. So lots of setup there. So I'm definitely watching this one. I was telling you yesterday, or not yesterday, but Monday, that I'm still not fully convinced on USDT, USDC dominance. So let's look at that chart. Weekly is actually going to be closing green, so this is going to be interesting. I mean, again, with these kind of setups, it could still roll over. So, which is why I was being cautious when the price was here. Like usually, what I've seen, it will do something like this, and then from here, it will just continue to roll over. So I did not do that. Definitely watching it. I wish we could get a nice little green candle on BTC monthly to be able to actually take a short position, because this is going to be the sixth consecutive month that we're going to be closing red, and that's not good because you need some green to be short with a higher position, much bigger position. So I was hoping we go up, even though I'm bearish. I was hoping that we could go up potentially right to about 80K, but it's not going to happen, it seems. This was the range that I gave, and it's really seems like it's just within this range. I don't think it's going to go above this one, this green one, the upper range. So we'll see what happens here. Well, yeah, that's what really I'm watching is BTC right now, oil, and then what's happening in Middle East. And not just that, but also what's happening in the US. Very important to understand. You do have, we had actually a big fire in Nebraska taking out over 1 million acres of land. There was a fire yesterday in Iowa. Lots of stuff happening, right? So you want to keep an eye on everything because that's what's going to impact the prices of commodities, especially if you're going to trade corn, coffee, anything like that, and oil, of course. I mean, all of these things are important. And then also how you can position yourself when the times are tough. Those are important things, right? So yeah, that's all I have from my side for today. I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic on to William. William, you wanted to cover DeepN just quickly? You said you were going to do that towards the end?
Yeah. So let's go ahead and let me get my screen going. My bad. I was just I was listening in. I was like paying attention, looking up those stories. The fires are. I didn't hear about the fires. That's crazy. I heard about the Texas thing happening. I think it was like an oil. Was that an oil field like on fire?
Yes.
I forgot. But
Yes.
oh my god.
Yes. Oh, by
Crazy
the way,
out
since
there.
we're talking about, one more thing I want to quickly throw out there, since Nat and I, we were talking about oil. Russia said no more oil exports starting April 1st. So that's also going to impact oil. That's bullish for oil. So we'll see how that works out. Go ahead, William. Take it away.
Yes, I'll go ahead and share my screen here on a couple of DPINs I was looking at. So this one was interesting. People are probably familiar with it. People are probably familiar with it. It's called a Kosh network. It's a decentralized compute GPU, which a DPIN, which has gotten really popular, especially as of recent, with a lot of GPU usage on these for AI, for powering AI, large language models, etc. A thesis has been kind of thrown out there by my friend Deepin Connection. Definitely going to follow him. He does a bunch of live streams all the time. But something that he threw out there was how basically we're building out a ton of infrastructure for these AI uses and these large language models. But a big problem they're going to run into, regardless of if AI meets if the AI demand meets that supply growth, regardless of that, they're going to be facing massive energy shortages. energy infrastructure is still lacking, especially in this country, in America, to really meet the demand that these GPU farms are going to need. And so that kind of leads to me to reason that we'll be tapping into, or at least a lot of these LLM companies, these big corporations, will be tapping into a lot of current already established hardware. So, AKA the GPU in your computer, like you at home, because it makes a lot more sense, a lot more energy efficient. It's a little bit cheaper. Everyone gets a little bit of a piece of the pie, etc. And so, Akash is set to be a really big winner in that front. Granted, obviously, with the rest of the crypto market, the token price has fallen dramatically, as you can see, but we're near this like really crucial, on the weekly especially, we're near this really crucial support level, of course. Like we had that, what was it, back in 2023, this kind of zone here, if you will. I'll just put a little line there for you. But yeah, that zone there was actually crucial that we haven't really passed by that zone yet. We have the conversion line still below the baseline here on Ichimoku. So on technicals, again, things don't look the best, but recently, if you zoom in, we had this massive pump. This is in part due to Akash kind of catering to a lot of the open claw crowd. Essentially, I'm sure everyone watching the stream has heard of OpenClaw by now. I hope so. It's been a massive disruptor in the space.
Yep.
Akash lets people set up an OpenClaw pretty quickly and very cheaply. So you can use their cloud compute on their decentralized network of GPUs, their servers, and essentially run or start up an OpenClaw for about $13 a month instead of paying, $600 for a Mac Mini, etc. So you can go on there, find someone to cater or find a GPU out there to cater your OpenClaw. You select it, they bid you a price, you agree on the price, and then bam, they have it all built in. You set it up, you can follow a little instruction video, and you're good to go. And so they started riding that wave a little bit. They got a lot of traction from that, and they're also changing up their buyback and burn tokenomics model for a lot of the revenue coming in. So that's why we've seen this massive price appreciation from, I think, what was that? That was like 120% pump there, 118% pump from the bottom there. So I found that very interesting. And then if you zoom in on the daily, of course, we just broke past the cloud there, got rejected by the 200-week EMA, but I'm still watching this thing very closely. So Akash and a bunch of other GPU compute projects I am looking at. I think Akash, tokenomics wise, has me a little bit more excited. And also price action wise, I think this thing can run really, really high. I mean, hell, if you look back on the weekly, what was the all-time high? Their all-time high was $8, just about. So I think we could easily run from this 47 cents here, rip past the cloud here, maybe even get past this $2, $3 zone here, which would be really contentious. But that's still what a 6x right there from 50 cents. So cost was something I'm looking at. Price action wise and play wise. But other than that, I mean, we've had Helium. I keep talking about them, of course, but can't stop talking about them. But Helium has had a nice, not token run. Of course, their token is still sitting pretty low here. It's recovering. It's holding steady, let's just say. But I'll share this screen instead. Hope everyone can see that. So let me zoom in. More tools. Bam. Here we go. So just from this screenshot here, their daily active users has jumped another 1 million because they're at 2.5, averaging just about 2.4, 2.5. They did reach 3 million recently, like I would say maybe 2 or 3 months ago. But now we're sitting at 3.5 million. And that's due in part to AT&T announcing that they were going to offload a lot more data to the Helium network. They really enjoy it. They enjoy using it. It gives their customers a higher quality of service. It's cheaper for them to utilize Helium instead of building their own network and building their own infrastructure. And so they're offloading a ton more data and putting a lot more customers on the Helium network when possible. And that's generating more revenue for Helium, more network traffic, et cetera, which is going to translate to more burn for the token. So I am long-term bullish on the fundamental stats of something like Helium as well as Akash. Obviously, tokens are in a funny place right now. But DPIN is looking strong, guys. That's my little DPIN report there on just telecommunications, as well as a Akash there on the GPU compute side of things.
Love it. Thank you so much for that information, William. And yeah, there's another product as well, which is actually by the Quiet Team. So Quiet Team is also, I met with them on Wolf Crypto Spaces, actually. Really incredible team. They've come up with a product called Entropic with E, like ENTROPIC. They also are allowing you to set up OpenClaw. Man, OpenClaw is a pain to set up on your computer, especially if you're running
Yeah.
Windows. And they actually made it easier. Like you could really set it up within seconds. It's really, really easy to set up. And so I'm really happy to see that a lot of people are getting into agentic AI and what it could do for you. So incredible takes.
Have you
Thank you there, William.
checked out Perplexity Computer or Claude Cowork yet? Have you seen those?
Yeah, I have seen that one. I haven't tested it because it has like it gives you access to all of the LLMs all in one place. So that's pretty incredible. But yeah, OpenClaw definitely
It's
I've
like
been.
a bare bones version of OpenClaw, like Perplexity Computer,
Mhm,
especially where like you can set up different agents to do different tasks and they'll repeatedly do them, and you pay with credits,
mhm,
etc. So it's kind of like a more streamlined, like retail version of OpenClaw. It's not very
mhm,
difficult. It's not very technical. You literally just go on there and tell the agent, "Hey, I want you to do this thing. Like, let's build this thing together." And it'll say, "Okay, cool." Or, "Hey, can you fetch me this data set every morning at 8 a.m. and write me a report or a briefing
mhm.
on this data set or on this news?" And Perplexity
Yeah.
Computer, by far, I've been using it. It's amazing. I have not used
Mhm.
Claude Cowork yet, but I've heard Claude Cowork is phenomenal in terms of its capabilities. So definitely check those out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I have a few of those agentic workflows running. Like I get an email every single day in the morning where it gives me crypto news from the last 24 hours. It summarizes it and sends it to me. So that's through ASI1 is the platform that I use for that one. But yeah, I have a few agentic workflows that makes my life easier for sure. But thank you. Great takes there. I want to start going around and just getting some final thoughts from everybody. So we'll start with Bits of Wealth. Bits, any final thoughts or comments from you?
No, I don't know that I got
Oh,
a whole lot to add.
okay. No, it was great
That's
takes today. I'm seeing
That's the funny.
Nat actually says she has a chart, but go ahead, Bits. Anything else? Nothing?
Nah, look, let Nat pull it up. Yeah.
Okay. Nat, go ahead, my friend. I'm gonna add your chart up on the screen.
All right. So this is the natural gas chart. Just real quick, there's something brewing here, right? If we do break above this EMA, it can get very interesting, right? And a break above this one would put it we'll put it in view, right? I was talking about this whole thing with North Star, and his thesis on natural gas is not that he's bearish on it. At least last time we spoke, maybe it's changed, I don't know, but I am not bearish on it. His whole thesis is the volatility, right? The volatility scares him a little bit, but his overall thesis on natural gas would be he could see a move to like right here, so that this range, this pocket right here, this gap between 550 and 560, that would make for a massive move up. But it's not ready yet. It is still brewing. I do have a position in BOIL and UNG, which is natural gas ticker symbols. Um, it's one, in my opinion, I like to keep a close eye on this with you know how they've been bombing some of these facilities, right? One in particular was liquid natural gas. I forget in which country was it. It was I believe it was in Israel. So I forgot exactly, guys. Sorry, which country, but I know there is some movement happening on the natural gas front, right? So this is something
Mhm.
very interesting. It looks like it's getting ready for a move. It still has some work to do, but if we're able to break above this EMA, I'm looking at 330. And at 330, I believe ticker symbol Boyle was above 20, UNG was much higher, and all the other natural gas related ticker symbols, they also made a move, right? So if we're talking about it, NG1 going to 550 or 560, then those ticker symbols, there's an opportunity there. Just wanted to add that.
Mhm. No, love that. Thank you so much, Nat, for that take. I'm definitely going to be watching this chart as well. Any other final thoughts or comments?
No, I think we're all on the same page in reference to oil. I think with BTC, in my opinion, I think at some point we do get a relief rally before the next leg down. That's one thing I'm looking at, whether it comes from here or lower. I think at some point we get a relief rally, which will coincide with
Yep.
a pullback in oil, a pullback in energy.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. All those things we need to be watching to form our thesis on there. Thank you so much, Nat. Great takes there. Kelvin, any final thoughts or comments from you?
Yeah, just wanted to just mention the it's been interesting watching the alts. I know that Bits sees potentially a move, but I agree with that. It'll not happen in a vacuum. If Bitcoin's dropping, the perfect alt setup's going to fail for sure. So anyway, but yeah,
So
I've
what you're
been
saying is
DCing.
Bitcoin's about to start pumping, is what you're saying, to get confluent with
Well,
with
you
these
know,
setups.
it's funny because you know how the entire Twitter timeline, when they start saying the same thing, it makes you a little nervous. Everybody on my entire timeline is saying that Trump is going to do something completely rash, start up the war, boots on the ground at 4:01 Eastern time, and that all markets are just going straight down. And it's from
Oh,
the
we're pumping.
educated to the very uneducated, and everyone's saying
Yeah.
it, and so it does. Like, it reminds me of Bits's comments of it's hard to believe when everybody thinks the same thing is going to happen.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I have been DCAing into shorts, as for the past month or so. Today's day 50 since our selling climax. So I noticed that the 50-day moving average sloped upward today because of that. So that was kind of interesting. So we've definitely flattened out for 50 days. And it's when things get quiet that things get exciting. So the shorts on alts have just printed like crazy. It's just amazing to watch. But they're active. They're in and out, but they're short leaning. So anyway, yeah, very, very fun market, very interesting. I know we've got some rough times ahead, but when the entire timeline is parroting the exact same thing, it does make you question. So
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yes,
Love
it
it.
does, man. I think we need a collab, guys. We're gonna launch a brand of we're gonna do some summer merch. Summer's coming up. People like to wear shorts during the summer, right? Because hot. We need to launch like altcoin shorts, basically, or something like that. Like you know what I mean? I don't know. Like,
yeah, it's good.
we need
Funny?
something. Sell it
funny.
to the crypto people. Some altcoin shorts. I'm wearing the XRP shorts.
It's funny.
Yeah.
I was totally gonna do, like, this was years ago. I was like, man, I would love to make a magic 8-ball that's a Bitcoin magic 8-ball, and it's got a base that says "not financial advice" around it, and then it would just like essentially tell you, hodl, or like pump it to the moon, or whatever the thing is. Be so funny. I'd probably be more accurate than the majority of the trading out there.
Yeah, you could probably do it nowadays with some kind of AI built into it as well.
I love that idea, actually. That's fun. All right. William, any final thoughts or comments from you?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty hectic out there. I guess I'll take a more philosophical approach here, but go touch some grass this weekend, maybe. I don't know. It's pretty crazy, guys. There's obviously war on the horizon here, a lot of geopolitical tension and turmoil happening, and it can really bring the spirits down. So I would say go enjoy yourself this weekend if you can. Go hug your loved ones, and just maybe stay off the computer for one day and just enjoy life. That's all I gotta say. Just stay safe out there, guys.
William,
Yeah,
but
no,
what
absolutely
if
agree.
everything pumps this weekend, William? What are we like? You gonna
I
miss
mean,
it?
even if it does pump, man, like there's always opportunity in the market, Bits. There's always
Agreed.
opportunity every
Agreed.
single day. So don't FOMO, don't chase. That's how you lose money, guys. FOMO is
Hey, I forgot I haven't updated William yet. I think I told you, Lady Trader, but since we've been talking about DPIN so much, and not to make this carry on, I'll wrap it up quickly. But hey, I'm now a Helium mobile user. I set it up
There
as
you
a
go.
secondary
There you go.
thing on a couple devices. So
Let's
you
go.
know.
Did you use my referral code? Huh? Did you use my referral code? I
Oh
guess
shoot,
not.
I might not have.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
See how it is. See how it is.
Uh-oh.
Oh, what kind of friend is that, man?
Oh my
indeed.
god! I'll go. I'm gonna
Yeah, it
cancel
is.
these and I'm gonna reactivate again.
I'm bearish on DPIN, guys. Bearish on bits and bearish on DPIN now. Thank you. Good night.
Oh, good one. No, that's really exciting bits. I definitely need to look into that as well. But yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. Just like what William said, make sure that you touch some grass this weekend. I've been traveling quite a bit, so that's why we had to cancel our Wednesday stream this week as well. I'll be traveling a little bit next week also. So yeah, definitely take as much time as you can during these markets. And this is what what William was saying. Don't FOMO. It's interesting how sometimes people act. They act like the trade that they missed was like the final trade of their life. It's like, no. If I miss, like, once you grow and mature in markets, you don't feel that way. You're like, oh yeah, like you could be missing trades all week and it doesn't impact you. You're like, oh yeah, it's all right. Next week or the week after, we'll find more trades. So that's the point that's where you need to reach in your trading career. That's the point that you need to reach in your trading career to be able to make it. You can't be looking at the charts every single day, every single minute, and then going, oh, what if I miss it? It's like, if you miss it, that's all right. There's going to be always a new trade to take. So yeah, definitely take some time to yourself. Just get off the computer and enjoy. But yeah, that's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back again next week, hopefully with some streams as well for you. Make sure that you're following everybody up here, because most of us, we are either attending a lot of spaces throughout the week or also doing our live streams. Bits of Wealth does market reviews throughout the week as well. So make sure that you're following all of us, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good weekend.